So, welcome to my, I would say, first podcast. Thanks for having you here. It's an honor, and like I said, for me, I have my TikTok channel where I have followers asking me about spirituality, fifth dimension, and I thought who would be better to ask than you, since you
The
have
guy, the guy from the fifth dimension.
exactly, yeah.
Well, thank you for
So,
very much for having me on. Thank you for being
yeah,
a supporter of, I guess, whatever I'm doing on
yeah.
Instagram and TikTok or wherever it is you found me.
Yeah, I
But
think I found you on Instagram. Yeah, on
okay,
Instagram.
very cool. Was it music related stuff or
No, I saw that you posted things about time traveling. So I was
yes?
into that.
Okay,
I like that much, very much. So I started following you,
so
and
this
like,
is
wow,
great. Well,
that's
I'm
cool.
happy. I'm happy to hear it. I'm happy someone registered to it because it sounds crazy. And this is my logo, my brand. The Galactic Federation of Time Travelers. I got my logo over here.
Wow.
So
So,
I got dressed up. I got all ready.
yeah. So tell me, how did it start with you? How did you get into that? I mean, how was it the calling for you, or how did you get into?
Okay, so my whole thing with spirituality, with art, is it's a combination of the two. I
Yeah,
I like to have a lot of fun with it. While a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with it, are very like literal about the fifth dimension and the way things work and all these things. I've blended it with metaphors. They're my beliefs, but I like to dress it up in a way that allows me to understand it better. And it just
yeah,
ends up looking more artistic. But
yeah.
backtracking a little bit, my past life, and this one, I don't mean a past life like 1400 years ago. I mean like 5 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, my past life 5 years ago, I was in a manufacturing business. It was a family
Yeah.
business. My father passed away when I was in my mid 20s, and my brother and my younger brother and I took over that business, and so we
Mhm.
ran it for 8 years, and we ran it for 8 years, and then we sold it. So we
Yeah.
were able to learn to build it a little bit and sell it to give ourselves some freedom to do different things.
Okay.
And within the years leading up to selling it, both my brother and I changed our lifestyle. It was very much an old school construction mentality where there's a lot of drinking, a lot of traveling, a lot of entertaining, a lot of uh, a lot of low vibration stuff. Even though it was a lot of fun, it was really bad. It was really taxing on the soul, really taxing on the immune system, and I have the kind of personality that goes 100%. And so
Yeah.
I got to a point where I wasn't healthy anymore. I didn't feel good. I looked 25 years older than I was. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start to get clear. I'm going to stop drinking with my friends on the weekend. I'm going to stop going on the road doing sales. And I'm going to focus on the infrastructure of the business. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is all those days that I wasn't hungover anymore on the weekends, I
Mhm.
started watching YouTube videos first about
Okay.
nutrition because I say I train every day, but how come I'm not seeing the results? And I started to learn about nutrition, about macronutrients,
Yeah.
micronutrients. And just literally every day, I was just consuming more and more content that was teaching me things about myself, and which was eventually leading me to a clearer mind, realizing that the business I was in was not suited to my frequency.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was crunching some numbers and I came to the realization that the best option would be to sell the company. That week, I got a phone call from a big multinational corporation in Italy that said, "Hey, we're interested in your company. Would you consider selling to us?" And I said, "Whoa!" That to me was the first true sign that the fifth dimension was listening. Because as soon
Okay.
as I said, because you have to understand, you know how it is when you run a business and the business goes well. And look, I didn't start the business. I came into it, we grew it, but you have access to funds. You can drive a
Yeah.
nice Porsche. You can have these things where everyone around you kind of looks up to you and they admire you based on your material possessions.
Yeah.
But what was going on the inside, the low margins that we were dealing with, the stress, the unhealthiness, that was the stuff that you couldn't explain to people because they wouldn't understand. But
Yeah.
being, a year pretty much sober, clear, starting to meditate, exercising, losing weight, all that stuff showed me that like I didn't even care what other people thought at all anymore. So I
Yeah.
said, yeah, we're going to sell the company. We're going to make some money. We're going to be able to pursue things that really are passions to us and that we can grow into. And so I started to really think deeply about how the environment affects me, because I knew that if I spent 2 months away from the office, my mindset changed. And so that was
Yeah.
the beginning of understanding that my environment was persuading my conscious mind. So I had to imagine that, okay, my environment seems to be downloading into my subconscious. And then it's giving me thoughts, right? It's rationalizing thoughts in my mind that make me want to stay where I am. And that was the
Yeah.
first hint of realizing that the environment is that you're in, no matter what it is trying to keep you there. Not because it's
Yeah.
evil, but because for survival purposes, for the way our DNA is or the way we're wired, that your subconscious mind knows that it's safe in this location and that the unknown is unknown to it.
Yes.
So it tries to persuade you from growth. So
Yeah.
that's why the baseline of humanity is, if you're relatively safe, even if you're unhealthy or whatever, it wants to keep you in your place. But once you
Yeah.
start distancing yourself from your environment, once you start putting in new inputs, healthier food, things that increase your immune system, things that decrease your inflammation, you start to have more faith, right? You
Yeah.
start to believe in your abilities to go beyond your limitations. And so
Yeah.
when I sold the company, I knew that I was going to cash out in the short term, but in the long term, I had it not figured out. It wasn't going to last me a lifetime. But I
Yeah.
had the faith in myself that if I go into this new thing, my soul, my subconscious, whatever it is going to make sure that I thrive in this new world. And that's the only way to grow, is through stress, through short-term
Yeah.
stress and through leaving the safe zone. So I sold my Porsche. I
Okay.
sold my house. I sold everything that I didn't need. And then I started to develop this theory that I call the input theory, about if I hang out with all of my friends who drink, well, then I drink. If I hang out
Yeah.
with people who are all stressed about money, I stressed about money.
Yeah.
And so this whole fifth dimension thing, if you see it, right, well, we can look here. This is
I
the
love it.
that's the subconscious mind.
Okay.
This is the conscious mind. The conscious
Yeah.
mind is only 5% of the operating system.
Exactly.
95% of it scientifically is subconsciously run. So the way I see it is that all we have to do is choose the environment that we want, that we download,
Mm-hmm.
and then our conscious mind will not have to fight the subconscious.
Yeah.
They'll be aligned. And then once
Yeah.
they're aligned, I call that time travel, because you're growing through time and moving forward rather than spinning in circles, repeating, repeating, repeating. We all know that
Yeah.
feeling of repeating nonstop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The
But you
point
have
is,
to, yeah,
sorry. The point is that we all grew up, since childhood with certain patterns. Like you said, subconsciously, we have certain things in us which we don't even know. So we're operating mostly on autopilot, I would say, like the airplane.
precisely.
Yeah. So the thing is, if you can manage to, how you call it, to interfere your subconscious, to really control it, then you can have everything in life. But the point is you have to work with that. It's a process. It's a day-to-day process. You have to train your mind, your subconscious mind, to believe what you believe. Because for me, like you said, I almost went through similar things in my life. I used to work as an employee, and it doesn't matter where I work, I couldn't work for someone else, because I had I thought to myself, am I the only one seeing what's happening? Like I have to work to get money, but that's not the point of life. So I always struggled with that. I knew that inside me that I had to change something. So it doesn't matter what I did. I had to do something out of this situation. So I left my job. I started a business, and I thought, why not real estate? And I did my first deal and I said, oh man, that's a lot of money. You know, the amount I made, someone had to work like 2 years to make that amount. I made it in 1 month, you know, let's say. So it shifted my whole mindset. So I know how you feel and what you went through because I had similar experience. So at the end of the day, is how you manage that. You know, what do you believe? You first start with writing down what do you want in of life. What are your goals? If you don't have a plan, you don't know where to go. And that many people are like this. They don't have a plan. And
Exactly. And they're operating in autopilot. And I don't know if everyone can become aware, right? Like you were always aware that perhaps you were unhappy or there was more, right? So you started
yeah,
your business. And then I guess as you started your business and you started to make the consistent good income, then it's almost like your focus shifted from, let's say, security, financial security, to starting to seek more, right? Like, on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
yes,
it's like once your shelter is taken care of and you don't have to worry about money, any of these things, you start to think about self actualization. What is this all about? How does this system work? How do I function in it? And that's what I call the fifth dimension, is everything that's beyond our conscious awareness, because most of everything in the universe is invisible to our naked eye. Beyond the
yeah,
infrared spectrum and the ultraviolet, this is the bandwidth of which we can visually see.
yeah,
Everything exists beyond that. So when I say I feed myself with good food, I know that this vessel, this machine, this is how I visualize it, feeds up to the 5D consciousness cloud and then feeds back more of that. It's almost like I'm a GPS, and whatever I put in my body, whether it's people, food, content, media, whatever it may be, that's programming my destination. And the cloud is connected to me. So it's just going to
yeah,
guide me towards more of what I give it. So it could be seen as a karma, but I visualize it as a feedback loop cloud. And I know, and I believe every day, if I don't give my body, my vessel, my time machine, what it, what I want to become, then I will become whatever the autopilot wants it to be, which is not a good thing. That is catastrophe.
yeah,
So I know that every day, it's not like I can go 2 weeks being on a good frequency and then let go. This is
yeah,
like you said, it's a daily thing. I wake up in the morning, I do my meditation, I write in my journal, I love, I grow, I create, life is abundant, these kinds of things to program this subconscious mind. And then I get my day going, right? I don't
yeah,
get out of bed, rush, have a coffee immediately and storm out, because the way I see it is I need to balance my frequency in the morning in harmony, right? So when I wake up, I meditate, I read, I journal. It takes an hour and a half. But that sets my frequency to calm, to harmony. And so now I know that when I'm going along my day, and this is where I say it's a visualization, because I see it like this. Is it exactly how it is? Who knows? But it works for me, so that's what I believe. This frequency shoots up to the cloud and then gives me back a roadmap that I can't see, that is of equal frequency. So I have to
wow,
earn my harmony in the
mhm,
morning so
yeah,
that I can do my best to follow the path of least resistance. And if I
okay,
skip everything in the morning, I'm putting my system on a path of most resistance. I step on a Lego, you know, I spill my
yeah,
coffee. All that bullshit that we don't want to deal with, that's the way I visualize it, and that's how I created. That's why I talk about the fifth dimension. That's why I talk about time travel. It's growing your consciousness, it's growing your perspective. And the only way to
yeah,
do this is a little bit every day.
yeah. And for me, it was consistency. You know, when this whole COVID thing started, you know, and I must honestly say, my business last year wasn't as it should have been. You know, the sales went down and everything. So I started to ask myself, is this all happening for a reason? Also, especially now for me, what is the meaning out of that? So the meaning for me was that I had to refocus on what is important in my life. Why am I here? A lot of people, they don't ask themselves. So for most of the people now, when they had to stay at home for lockdown, they had to confront themselves, and it wasn't easy for many people. And for me, it was a good time to refocus and ask ourselves what is important. You know, what is it? Because we're shifting. When you realize certain things, why your soul is here, or what's the purpose of being here, then I realized that for me it was evolving. Doing something which has a meaning for me. I mean, the real estate, okay, it has a meaning. I'm doing it. I'm helping other people get their properties and stuff. But what is the real meaning? The real meaning for me was getting into spirituality, helping others realizing what's happening in the world, because there's a need to understand what's happening, realizing what's happening in this dimension which we are living. And that's why we are shifting, realizing or spiritually awakening, shifting into the fifth dimension. It's like I heard it in many ways, separating one earth with the other. Like we are two earths. I don't know if you heard about it. Like there's a third dimension where people are still not awake, and we are the fifth dimension, which is spiritually awakening.
Okay.
Would you say that? How do you see that?
The way I see that is, well, it all makes a lot of sense, and I love the fact that you're finding a positive instead of looking at the lockdown, saying, "Oh, my sales are down. What is going on?" You try to find a lesson. You try to find a meaning, and that's a productive mindset, right? That because shit happens to everybody, but if you focus on the bad and you don't focus and try to find a silver lining and something that allows you to grow, then it's to me it's a waste of your time. But with the fifth dimension and the awakening, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about how it's all the evil things that are planning all these terrible things. That's just another example of blaming, and I'm not very excited about blaming other things.
Yeah.
I like to look at it always from a positive perspective. So if the whole world is locked down together, then the productive way I look at it is like that means that it's going to be a mass awakening, because people whose routines have allowed them to be busy and not stare themselves in the mirror are having this opportunity. So right now it's almost like 2020, 2021 will be a time where the most people at the same time in the world will have grown. Is it everybody? No, but it's a lot of people. A lot of people are looking at their partner and saying, is there a reason why I don't like to be home all the time with them? Or they look at their job and say, do I need to do this? And they're looking at all kinds of questions that perhaps you and I have had the fortunate ability to ask ourselves a few years ago. But it's almost like everyone is getting this opportunity to question themselves. And when you start questioning, you start to go inside. You start to look, if you ask why, and then you get an answer and ask why again. I learned this in business. If you ask 5 whys, you get to the root of it.
Yeah.
And I think lockdown has given us the ability to do that. So I think 2020 is really the mass awakening. And I like how you said there's like the 5D people and the 3D people. One example I use is from Star Trek. And I don't know if you're familiar with Star Trek.
Yes, I love Star Trek. I used to watch even Enterprise. Enterprise was my
Like
biggest love.
with Jean-Luc Picard.
No, Enterprise with Kirk.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, Star
Like
Trek.
really, I don't know. I got fixed with that.
Yeah, well,
then I continued with the newer one. Like,
yeah. So the idea there is that they're a few hundred years in the future, and Earth has entered the Galactic Federation of Planets, which essentially means they've hit warp technology. But also, the way I visualize it is that they've reached a level of spiritual consciousness that is of a certain frequency. So the way I look at it is COVID might have helped us boost 100 years of progress towards, a higher consciousness planet that perhaps now if there's other planets with life on them, we were still too primitive for them to come talk to us. But
Yeah.
this maybe fast forwarded things 100 years. So we'll be that much closer to be able to connect with the other planets and enter the Galactic Federation of planets. So that's just
yeah.
a fun, I always mix my spirituality with fun ideas and concepts because I'm an artist at the end of the day and I like to imagine things. And it's fun.
That's the best way to see things, you know. If you don't have imagination, what would you have? You know? That's the thing. So from what I get is you believe that there are other how you call it? There are other, I wouldn't say aliens, but do you believe in other planets having
Oh,
certain
well, what I believe, and there's two categories: what I believe and what I want to believe. So what I believe is that COVID gave us an opportunity for the whole planet to raise their vibration, to raise their consciousness. What I want to believe, which I have absolutely no proof at all, but I would love it to be true, is like there are other planets there just waiting for us to reach a certain level and then they can communicate with us.
Yeah,
Now,
I believe that also. I believe the same thing. For me, if they are, you know, like aliens, like they say, for me, aliens are the human advanced in the future. Maybe they're
exactly.
coming back to help us, you know, to not destroy our planet or whatever. That's what I believe, you know, what I think. So, what's your take on what's happening in general? Is it coincidence that we are going through this timeline, that we are here on this earth at this time? Do you believe in coincidence, or do you think it was already meant to happen?
I like to believe that everything is meant to happen, that nothing is by accident, because I like to add meaning that gives me meaning and that gives people meaning. So
Yeah,
if this is happening and I'm here, it always comes from a point of, am I going to be the victim or am I going to find an opportunity to shine?
yeah,
And it's like, if this is happening now and I'm part of it, then we're part of history. This is fantastic. What can we
yeah,
do? I started a podcast this year. You started a podcast this year. We're spreading good vibes. People are going to watch this. They're going to have fun. We're not talking about negative stuff that makes people more victimized, right?
yeah,
Because the news just makes victims.
yeah,
And I'm not interested in that. That's low vibration. And when
yeah,
and the way I see this machine, because I always call it the machine or the time machine, whatever we give this machine, it wants more of. So we have to be very
yeah.
careful what we give it because
Exactly.
it has no, it doesn't know. All it knows is whatever it receives, it transmits to receive more. So
Yeah,
if we do podcasts like this, well, we want more of that, and that's good. If we watch the news all day and we think that the world's going to blow up or there's concentration camps coming or all that shit, that's the reality that we're going to create for ourselves. I rather
yeah.
create a reality that's positive because
That's true.
that I can
I,
take control of.
yeah. No, I mean, like, coincidence also, like meeting souls or people like you and me, that we are meant to have this conversation, so more people are waking through that, you know, like understand what's happening. Because with so much going on in the world, you know, and all this news, social media, you don't know what's true and what's false. So people, if they start questioning what's happening, then they will seek answers. I believe. I mean, I'm sure.
Exactly. We're an alternative source of, I'd say, positivity
Yeah,
that leaves people with hope, right?
yeah,
So this, like, you're a time traveler because you're growing in time, and together as we interact, like, look, that's the logo. That's your
I love it. I
subconscious
love it.
is aligned with your conscious mind, and then you become like that triangle is like a rocket, right? It's a time machine. It's whatever it is, but the circle is the planet. And the whole idea of this time travel thing or consciousness or whatever is that as we connect together, we are just antennas of high vibration. So
Yeah,
we have to do this. That's why we find each other. That's
yeah,
why we're doing this work, because we're going to attract more people like that. And the formula always works. And we're going to
yeah.
give people a positive outlook, because anytime someone else is to blame, it's that's not a truth that I want to believe in.
Yeah. So, I mean, regarding also the Galactic Federation, it's you hear a lot now coming out. Like people knew about Galactic Federation, but they didn't want to come out because people would think that we would be crazy, or those who would say there is a Galactic Federation,
That
they would
that
say,
that's very funny, because I got a whole bunch of views on one of my YouTube videos about the Galactic Federation, and this video is like a nothing video. It's a video that I was doing once a week to update my YouTube subscribers. But I put Galactic Federation, and I put it sometime in August. But a month ago, or a month and a half ago, there was an ex Israeli military guy who said that Earth has been part of the Galactic Federation
exactly. I
since
heard that. I saw that.
since the 70s or something.
Yeah.
And like I want to be clear that like this community, the time traveler community that I have is for fun. It's a community. It's about consciousness. It's about raising vibration. But it's funny sometimes when the truth comes out and it's like exactly what this, it has the same name. So is that a coincidence that the Galactic Federation is in the news now? And I've been
Yeah.
talking about the Galactic Federation for the last 7 months.
You see.
And Star
So,
Trek has been talking about it since the 70s.
yeah, but people were not aware. How you call it? Like consciously. For them, it was just living in this, like we call reality. Like you hear a lot of people saying, even we are living in a matrix,
Yeah.
not knowing what is true and what is not true. Like like we're living in a simulation, I would say. But the thing is that if you realize what your subconscious, what power it has, it could create whatever it wants, because whatever you see now in this reality, it was created by someone through the subconscious. Like we all have this information in us, but people don't realize that because they have been, how you call it, not controlled, but like I said, from childhood on, like I would
They've
say,
been that's
programmed to
exactly
believe.
what it is. They've been programmed, and I don't like to believe that they're programmed necessarily for evil. I think that the ego programs us to survive, and most kids growing up have to develop the ego to protect them from whatever their environment is.
Yeah,
But most people never grow out of that ego. They never escape it. So they remain programmed. And
yeah,
most, I'd say, yeah, for sure, most people don't question things because there's a shame attached to it, right? We have this internal need to conform, and
yes,
it's a survival thing. Maybe you and maybe me, we're like the outliers, right?
yeah,
If 1% of the world is outliers and they're the leaders and they don't give a shit about conforming because people will follow them. Maybe that's why we are the way we are. But for the most part, people don't want to talk about aliens or UFOs because or the fifth dimension or God or any of that, because they're afraid, whether they know it or not, to be judged by their immediate circle.
yeah. It's true. I mean, how is it for you if you know all these things and you deal with day-to-day people? Isn't it a bit difficult? Like I say, for me, it wasn't always easy. Realizing that in the past, now it's changing because people are awakening. But in the past, it was not always easy because you had to deal always with people who were um, negative or don't know what's really happening with them, and you know what's happening. So you take over this almost this mentality because you are
Surrounded by it.
uh, surrounded by it. Yeah,
And that's what I was saying earlier with the inputs from our environment. If you spend a lot of time with people with a certain mindset, you will develop that mindset whether you like it or not, because
yeah,
we are a receiving, transmitting machine. And if
exactly.
I always use this example, if you put a hot chocolate in the fridge, no matter how hot it is, it's going to get cold,
Yeah,
because the molecules will reprogram the heat to be cold. And
yeah,
so we have to
exactly.
be aware of this. And I think it's something that we have to learn growing up. It's difficult
Yeah,
because I'm sure you were like me, perhaps an introspective kid who had a good soul, and you were surrounded by a lot of ugliness, and that was just the way it was, and you figured maybe you're the weird one,
Exactly.
right?
So it
And
was not always easy.
yeah, it wasn't always easy. And growing up, I think the most difficult part was when I started to change my lifestyle, and I was receiving judgment from those who were in my immediate circle, or people that I was spending time with. They didn't like it. And at the beginning, I was trying to convince them of what I was thinking. But as time went on and as the years went on, I realized that my truth is as real as their truth.
Yeah.
What they believe is as real as what I believe.
Yeah.
So I know that I don't know everything. If they think they know everything, that's okay. That's an ego thing. And I know that I can't convince them. So what can I do is try to make the most uh, positive, mutually beneficial interaction that I can have. Let's say I'm working with someone in my music and we have a different mentality about something. Well, it doesn't really matter because now we're making music and we want to make the best music possible. So whether politically they're on the left or the right is of no importance to me because my identity is not attached to my politics. I don't even care. And so we learn to become 5D, right? Because we live in a 3D world. But if you can become the observer, then you can let your ego go and you don't have to defend it because there's nothing to defend. It doesn't exist. If you know that the other person is sensitive about a subject, don't bring it up or tell them what they want to hear because they're the reason their algorithm is the way it is because of generations that have led up to this moment.
Yeah.
You're Peruvian, you're Greek. I'm Greek and Italian. Maybe there's something in our chemistry, in our algorithm, in our DNA that makes us the way we are just as much as it makes the other person the way they are.
Yeah.
So trying to have a 10,000 year battle of genetic history is useless. What are we trying to do now? Are we trying to make amazing music? Perfect. Let's make amazing music. That's the way I see it is understand that they are, if they're not awake, that they're merely a product of their environment. And there's certain buttons that I know I don't have to press because nobody wins. There's going to be no benefit.
Yeah.
So I just let it be. And for the most part, if it's people from my past or whatever that I don't see anymore, I just continue to not see them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have to deal with people who are of a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But if we not learn how to work with them and to make them feel good and lead by example rather than tell them, that's all the impact we need to do, I think.
Yeah. So if you would ask me how I see the whole structure, the whole thing is, I don't know why, but I have the belief that before we even came into this world, we assigned to this life to go through all of this lesson. So not everybody might agree with me, but I know there's a certain time and that's why we are here, to help raise the consciousness, human consciousness. And I believe that, especially for me, like sometimes I always say I feel like an old soul, like maybe I lived past lives, not maybe, I'm sure that I lived past lives. So that's a more spiritual side, like seeing. How is it? How do you see it? Do you believe you are an old soul, or do you feel like an old soul, or how is your take on that?
I do feel like an old soul. And this goes into the I want to believe because at the end of the day, belief is everything. The truth is what we believe it is. So yeah,
Yeah.
do I believe I'm an old soul? Yes. Do I believe that I can interact with the world beyond my ego? Yes. Do I think that I signed up for this? I like to think that I do because it makes it a more productive experience. It makes it a more positive experience with more meaning. So whatever gives me more meaning is what I do. And that's kind of the time traveler thing. It's the idea behind the time traveler is you were sent here from another time to raise consciousness of Earth. That is a time traveler.
Yeah.
You're an old soul. You are sent here. And part of the game that we play, part of the deal is that once we are come out of the womb, we forget where we came from. And it's up to us to remember. That's the game we're playing. So once we remember, if we ever do,
Yeah.
then we can start our job. And you're
Yeah.
doing your job, man. You're doing it. You're doing it with the TikTok. You're doing it with this podcast.
I look, I never even thought about, if you would have asked me 2 years ago if I would start any TikTok or video about spirituality, I would have told you you're crazy, man. But things came and aligned itself, you know. I separated myself. That's why I wanted to come back to the point where you said it's the people you surround yourself. Show me your 5 closest friends, and I will tell you, for example, who you will be, or who you will become, or how much you will earn, or all of this. So I separated myself from many people who sucked, I would say, even sucked the energy out of me, you know, because I
Totally.
was always being generous, you know, I was always being friendly, you know, I couldn't never say no because I wanted to help. So that's what I learned my lesson from, you know, to know who's there for you, for your good, for your own good, and who is there only to
To take.
learn yeah, to take and learn also the lessons, you know, from also like my past relationships. I learned from all of them, and I'm very grateful for having had this relationship, you know. And I don't see it as negative. I see it as a positive side of it, you know, like learning from these relationships. Otherwise I wouldn't have become the person I am now, you know. That's
Exactly.
why I'm also very grateful for it.
So you've taken every experience and you've taken a lesson from it that allowed you to grow and see the world with new eyes. And that's a beautiful thing. Did
Exactly,
you
yeah.
did you find that through your process you've had to, because you've had to learn to become a little more hardened, actually? You know, you become, as you embrace the spiritual life and you start to understand that people can be energetic vampires, and that there's some people who don't want to help themselves. They just tell you what you want to hear, but you feel drained after that. And I mean hardened by having to take a sensitive soul that I think we both are, and
Yeah.
learning to set boundaries, which are difficult to make. I found that that
Yeah.
was a big lesson that I learned in this life, is creating boundaries,
Yeah.
creating when you, because when you set a boundary, in my opinion, you set a respect level for yourself.
Yeah.
And once you are consistent with that boundary, then the others will respect you and they will stay away,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be trying to be nice or trying to, make them see things differently, because after 4 or 5 times, they're not going to change. If
Yeah.
you know how difficult it is to change, you had to change your job, you had to take risks, you had to go through breakups, you had to go through all kinds of things, you had to separate yourselves. That's a lot of work to really
Yeah.
grow. You
Yeah.
can't expect someone to continue doing everything the same, and just you talking to them once is going to make them change. No, they have to change everything, because
Exactly.
we're a vessel that receives the inputs of our environment.
Yes, exactly.
So did
That's
you
a,
have to become
mhm.
more brutal in that sense?
I wouldn't say brutal, but I would say what I also learned from my relationship was that because I didn't get, you know, my childhood was very special with my parents, you know? And my parents weren't the normal parents, which would say, "Hey, come on, kid, I love you." You know, they didn't show me this affection or love. So what happened is when I grew up, I was looking for it in women which I used to date, you know, and I I was always sad, you know, when they left. It was like something was missing, you know. But then I realized now, especially with my last relationship, that if I don't love myself, accept myself, how can I be with someone else? You know, I will always suffer. I will always suffer. You know,
Every time.
so so that's the point. I have to accept and love myself. Then I can give this love, because that's how you attract the other person with what you feel. The
Exactly.
resonance, the how you call it, you resonate.
Yes,
That's why you attract these people. Yeah.
exactly. I believe that we are, like, it sounds selfish, but we are literally the center of our own universe. And the way I see
Yes.
that is that we have to be the sunshine that is as bright as possible, so that I can nourish those around us and attract nourishment as well. So I'm sure when you look back at your relationships and you were at a point where you didn't really understand it yet, but looking back, can you see that you attracted women who were in a similar type of mindset as you, or had a
Yes,
similar type of algorithmic trauma, let's say?
yes, I can guarantee that 100%. I can say that yes, with certainty. I can say that I attracted this kind of woman because we all operate, as I'm sure you agree with that, like a frequency, like the electricity or the internet you don't see, which flows. It's the same with the brain waves or what you think, what you feel. So if you feel that you are worth yourself, then you will attract the same person in your life. But if you feel you're not worth, then you will attract the same. So
That's that's what it is. We're
it's
like
just
magnets.
frequency. Exactly, it's a frequency. It's how much frequency or which frequency are you vibrating at the end of the day. You know?
That's exactly it. That's everything. And if we want to change something, we have to change people on a who are on a to the right frequency, because we know that we will become that. And that's to me having faith, right? So
Yeah,
let's say leaving your old job and going on to a new one, you knew that the new job would bring you to a different frequency, but you had to leave your current frequency, which was safe.
yeah,
So you had to have faith to know that it's going to work out. You had faith in your
yeah,
ability to make it
yeah,
happen. And so that's how I
exactly.
see faith. It's understanding how this invisible system works. And
Yeah,
because a risk, if you have faith, is not really a risk, because you're
yeah,
guided, because the frequency pulls you, because we manifest to survive,
yeah,
and it's a beautiful thing.
exactly. So that's why I always say it all starts from you. It begins from you. You attract, you create everything, and it comes all from you, from inside. So how much worth do you, how much love would you give yourself? Go out and travel the world. Okay, now it's difficult to travel, but go out and explore. Do something which you love to do. You know, hang around with people you really like to hang around, not people you have to hang around. There's no have, you know. So do
Exactly.
whatever you love because you're worth it. You're living this life because you want to learn and you want to grow. That's the main thing. We are here to grow. We are here to learn our lessons. And that's why I say do whatever it takes to appreciate yourself and show yourself gratitude. I always say that. Write down a gratitude journal, you know, whatever you're grateful for. Because the more you're grateful for, the more the good things you will attract. Like I
Yes.
said, it's a frequency thing.
And I love how you said that, because I also come from the I forgot to mention that what led me to spirituality was actually science, which doesn't sound like the normal thing, but understanding, like I got into, fasting, and all these biohacking, and the definition of biohacking, which is essentially optimizing yourself, is change your environment to change your body. That's a very spiritual saying. So it's very mechanical, but it's also spiritual. And gratitude, truly being at peace with something, or finding a positive in something that happened that was maybe negative, but you find the positive, actually has a chemical reaction in your body, which decreases stress, which
Yeah,
increases serotonin, which at the end of the day has a net benefit to lowering inflammation in your system. So when you lower the inflammation in your system, you see with brighter eyes, you see with a more positive uh, outlook. And so what that
yeah,
means is gratitude literally has an effect on your brain chemistry.
yeah,
So if you practice gratitude and you practice finding the positive in things, your life will be better, because you will
yeah,
feel better and you will see things better. There's some days where I could use a little more gratitude and I don't. Not every day is an amazing day.
yeah,
Sometimes I feel like shit, and I but I get to the point where I know that, okay, this is going to pass, and when I come back, I'm going to see with different eyes, and this is maybe something that I need to go through right now. So even when I feel like shit, I understand it and I observe it. So I don't get
yeah,
mad. I'm not short with other people. I just know that, okay, the tide is low right now, and it's going to come back nice and high, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But we just have to understand how we work to find the absolute best in every situation.
Yeah. No,
Even
I love that, like you said. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
oh, I was gonna say, yeah, even in the bad situations, because there's no real good or bad. There just is, and we have to learn to adapt and learn from every situation.
Exactly. Yeah. I totally agree with that. But like I said, we all are on different journeys, which we are assigned to in this life, and we all learn through different things. You are the artistic guy. You like playing music. I like, for example, expressing myself. Like, I think what I like to do is talk. Express myself on what I know. I have this inner knowingness, and I want to express it, which I haven't done over all these years. Like, I know all these things, and I know it in my gut feeling, intuition, which I really beg people to listen to, because intuition is very important, especially now during these days, to listen to your intuition and hear what does it say. And you can do that by meditating, by meditation. I do it every day. I started doing it now on a daily basis. I do it twice a day, in the morning and the evening. And it really helped me to refocus, to really listen to my higher self, to my intuition, what it has to say. And everybody should do that, because we all have our intuition talking to us, our higher self.
It's so strong.
And exactly, yeah. So I beg people to really reconsider what is it that you really want, and listen to yourself. Go out to nature. The best thing is what I do. I do all of my TikTok videos in nature, and people are telling me, why are you always, I see you in the forest, because I feel nature, I feel connected to it. I feel like there is a connection with
Amazing.
nature.
Yeah, and that's a
Yeah,
beautiful thing, and that's probably why your TikTok is doing well, is because you're not only the words you're speaking have meaning, but the frequency that the words carry, and
yeah,
like from the source, which is you, and the place that you're in nature, all that combines to probably a very um, peaceful uh, overall experience for the viewer. Like they watch your
exactly.
stuff, and there's probably a lot of peace and harmony that comes from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I never expected that people come to me and tell me, "Oh, you really made my day," or "You really changed my." Even I had people tell me, "You changed my life." I wouldn't have expected. I mean, it gives you like chills. It gives you also
It's
a
a great
meaning
feeling.
to continue doing what you're doing, because I made it really as a goal. Really, it doesn't matter what happens, that I go out in nature and I do this video on a daily basis. So I am really committed to that. Like, if you are committed to do something, then people can count on you, and then you can
Exactly.
establish.
And you're part of their world.
Exactly, yeah. But if you as when you continue, and then suddenly you struggle or you stop doing something, then there will be no consistency. So in order to have this consistency, is you have to really continue doing what you are meant to do, like follow
Yes,
this or whatever.
exactly. Are there some days where you don't feel like it as much as other days?
Oh yes, many
Yeah.
times. Like, oh no, I have to go now out or whatever. No, but then when I did it, I feel much better, because I know I did something good.
Yeah.
But
You
when
put
you struggle with your ego, or with your, like, you have always two parts saying, no, you are a couch potato, sit and watch Netflix instead of doing something more meaningful. Then you have to really convince yourself that you're doing it because it has a higher meaning or a higher purpose. So the consistency is at the day the most important thing. If you do something, then do it consistently, no matter what. Like, really, that's how you can become, in general, in life, successful. And that's how I started my business in real estate. But unfortunately, there are certain external factors which you cannot change. So you have to adapt yourself. You have to change, and always try to be positive, stay in a positive uh,
Mindset.
mindset. Yeah, because if you think, oh no, my business coming down, I have to pay bills. What I'm gonna do? Especially for me as a like I don't have a consistent income. I have to sell property. So if I don't sell a property, what I'm gonna do? So really, that's the thing. You have to stay positive and adapt yourself, adapt to the situation, and don't give up. Believe in yourself, trust in yourself. Know that there is a that your spirit or your soul has a reason that you're going through all of this, and trust and let go. That's also very important, to trust and let go, and that the things come to you if you really trust in the universe, or in what is meant for you.
I love that. I love that. Everything you just said resonated a lot. That from the consistency to just just the consistency itself has a built-in um, fail safe. You know, the consistency on a daily basis, providing that value, doing it even though you don't want to do it. It's like a workout. It's like me on the treadmill every day. It's like I do it. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but after I did it, I feel great. And
Yeah,
if I don't do it, that's when the ego starts to corrupt the mind. It starts to tell you, oh, maybe you shouldn't do this, maybe you should do that, and it's all limiting beliefs that make us spin around in circles. That's not time
exactly.
traveling.
Limiting beliefs, exactly. Yeah.
And
That's
limiting
the thing.
beliefs, it's like if we don't do what we need to do, it's almost like we feed the limiting beliefs.
Yeah,
And we don't want to feed that beast. We want to keep
yeah,
that beast quiet. And the only way to
exactly,
keep that beast quiet is to do good. And you post
yeah,
your videos every day, and you provide value to people. And
exactly. Yeah.
it can lead to who knows where, right? Who
You never
knows?
know.
Who knows what can happen? We never know. But if we,
Exactly.
and on the other side, if we attach ourselves too much to a certain outcome, it can be very brutal and very disappointing. You know, I'm
Yeah,
not where I want to be. I should be here,
yeah,
but I'm not.
sure.
How
Yeah,
do I get there faster? What do I have to do to get there faster? And the truth is, if you're
yeah,
not there today, you're not supposed to be.
yeah.
Trust your
But
trust your road, trust your process.
exactly. Yeah. I always like this metaphor. Like when I say to people, if you have lived your life and you look back into your life, would you regret not having done certain things? If you look at it from that side, then it's easier to, to take those things which you think is they are hard to do for granted. Like they're if you say, I don't want to do this or the video, or I don't want to run on the treadmill. But if you don't do that, what are the effects of not doing it? And that's why I always like this, seeing it, like looking back from your life as if life is already almost finished, like already, and looking back and say, if you would have done something and changed something, would you have changed something in your life, or would you have, uh, you know, how you call it, lived your life as you are supposed to live it? Like,
That's a
would
good
you
question.
change something? Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good perspective
like,
because you often hear, my brother always says this, you hear people on their deathbed and they always say, "Oh, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done this. I
exactly.
wish
That's
I
how
would
I
have lived,
wanted to say it.
yeah, I wish I would have lived differently." And it's like, well, we have that opportunity today, you know? Like is eating that bag of chips tonight going to benefit me tomorrow? Is it going to get me closer to where I wish I could be? If it's
Yeah,
no, then put that bag of chips away, man. You know?
exactly.
Is and that stuff, the negative inputs feeds the 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 limiting beliefs, right? Every time we watch
Exactly.
something that we know maybe we shouldn't watch, every time we hang out with that person that we gave one more chance to, we regret it. You know, all those things. And what do? They fuel the voice in our head. And that's how I know
Exactly.
if I have a conversation with someone and then I leave and I have all these thoughts in my head now that are negative, I'm like, ooh, that's the alarm. I don't know if I can see that person again. But if I leave the conversation feeling rejuvenated, feeling happy, feeling excited about something, then, oh, I need more of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, this conversation gives me like I'm so energized because I could express what I wanted to express, and I'm really grateful that we could have had this conversation because it gives me also from my side a lot of insight, of things I know I could tell to people, and I could give this information for someone who really needs to hear this. You know? So no, I mean I'm
Yeah,
really
that,
energized, pumped.
because yeah, and that's a good sign. And it's also nice to see from my perspective too that there's more people out there who are thinking the same things, who are believing the same things. And there's a lot of us out there. But
Definitely.
we live in a domesticated world that by nature fuels the limiting beliefs, right? We're creatures of comfort. That's that the price that the humans pay for safety, security, and civilization. The price is that all that comfort, all that availability and abundance of food and snacks and TV, it takes away from our natural necessities to achieve and feel good about ourselves and regulate our brain chemistry.
Yeah.
So, it's great that we all have a house and we can all watch Netflix and we all have the internet and have all these great things, but the price to pay is that we get way too many limiting beliefs because we're not out there achieving, earning, stepping out of our comfort zone. It's very you get a job and you could stay in that job for a long time and it pays the bills and you get used to it. And now you're in this machine that is turning you and you don't know. And then it's hard to grow and hard to get out of that because your body is is deemed safe. It believes it's safe.
Yeah.
And then it's so that's the trade-off, but we have to learn to live the balance and appreciate both. It's like it's amazing that we have safety, security, and abundance, but at the same time, we have to reach out of our comfort zone. We have to achieve things. We have to say things, and the reason I went there is because you're saying things and I'm saying things, but a lot of people can't because they don't have the courage to, because their environment creates too many limiting beliefs and too much fear in them, and they can't say it for themselves because they're afraid of judgment, whether they know it or not. Like most
Yeah.
people won't even admit it because they're not aware. They're not just not aware of it. But guys like us, guys, girls, whoever, who are doing this, we are putting things out there that are reminding people that that little voice in their head, the child voice, is right. That intuition
Yeah.
voice, there's more of us out there. That's
Exactly.
that's the Galactic Federation of time travelers. We're out there. Let's
Yeah.
find each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I wanted to add one point. When you mentioned when we were born, especially very like babies, they have very they're very connected to the spiritual world because they are still not covered with all this programming, from our parents and all that. So that's why I've seen many how you call it there's there are certain how you call it documentaries about babies or children they couldn't even talk, which they told their parents things they never knew they could have known. So like what I wanted to say is when you're a baby, you are still connected to the spiritual world. A lot of people they don't know that, but then when you start growing up, you feel that you lose that connection. You're not connected anymore. So that's the sad thing, But growing up, you forget where
Yeah,
your roots are. Yeah. So,
of course. Well, I think that's part of the game, right? That's part of the mission. And I like to look at it as a game. It's almost like we're on the outside in the fifth dimension and we sign up for this game. And this game, before we put the 25 cents in the machine, they say this is going to be the most challenging game that you've ever played in your life. It's going to be so challenging that you're not even going to know that you're playing the game and that you're going to have thoughts in your head that are going to make you think you're crazy. But this is the game we're playing. And yes, when we come out fresh babies, we have no filter. We have no
Exactly.
filter, but these filters create themselves on us for us to adapt to our environment. And our parents, they pass on their fears, right? Because with love comes fear, right? They love us and they want to protect us. But what happens is that we end up downloading their fear.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people end up exactly like their parents or the exact opposite of their parents, but in the same frequency. You
Yeah.
know, like a teacher can have a kid and the kid's not a teacher. He's I don't know, a skateboarder, which is like the
Yeah.
opposite of a teacher, but they're at the same frequency. They just wear a different costume,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
that's the game of this life. And it's knowing that maybe we're old souls and understanding that not everybody um, is going to be on this journey, right? There are some souls that are younger that are here to learn the first few levels.
Exactly.
And so it's up to us to encourage them to experience, because the more they experience, the more they learn.
Yeah.
And when I first started to kind of see things, I wanted to explain a lot to people,
Yeah.
people who weren't ready for it. And that was the wrong thing to do. Like your TikTok, people are finding it who are interested in it, right? They're looking for these things. They follow these kinds of things. They have a thirst for it.
Yeah. I mean, for if you see it from that side, I think it's not a coincidence that I attracted these people, because they were looking for this
Exactly.
information, this how you call it.
There's
So
knowledge.
yeah, exactly, this knowledge. So I attracted these souls because they want to learn more about it, and I kept, and the people are keep asking me, can you give me more information about all this stuff about spirituality, about past lives, about all this kind of things. And yeah, I mean, I never expected that, to be honest, but it gives me joy because I know I have a meaning, a purpose of doing it.
Of course. And you're being true to your frequency. You're
Yeah,
being true to your
exactly.
vibration. You're not silencing yourself. And I truly believe that there's all kinds of people out there with all kinds of different frequencies, and we attract the frequency that we are, you know?
Yes, exactly.
And so that's why there's a place for everyone, and everyone has a purpose, and everyone has a mission here. And all you have to do is have faith in yourself and be true to yourself, because everyone has a unique journey. Everyone has a
Exactly.
unique set of experiences. So go out and share those experiences because they're unique, but at the same time, they will resonate at a frequency that communicates to people who are searching for it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's when you try to be something that you're not, that's when the frequency and the message they cross, and there's no traction because you're not
Yeah.
you're not authentic.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
when I started making like I've been making music since I'm 12 years old. But when I sold the business and I started going back to the studio again and making music, there was this the goal was not to have a career in music. I just loved to record and make songs. And I started going, and then I put a song out and I put another song out, and it just led me. People kept listening to it, they kept responding to it, they kept reacting well on it, and it effortlessly just started to move because I think it was authentic because there was no goal. And it's a crazy thing to say, like, there's no goal, but I did it because I could. I did it because I loved it, and it's true expression. So just like your TikTok videos that have a frequency, my music has a frequency, and I know that interesting things will happen, or at least the
Yeah,
fact that there will be people who can resonate with that authenticity, and that's
exactly.
all we
Yeah.
have to know. But you have to have faith in yourself. You have to have
Exactly.
faith that you don't have to be something else. And
Yeah.
and with the fifth dimension and the programming, all my new music that hasn't been released yet, that will be released shortly. I started writing lyrics that when people sing them or listen to them, they're downloading positive thoughts into their subconscious mind. So
Okay.
I'm not singing about partying. I'm not singing about, alcohol or what are these things, or I'm not singing about depressing things. I'm singing about uh, positive stuff. So I dream about it every night. It's a vibe, you know, like it doesn't matter what they say. As long as I do what I'm doing, I'm going to spread the good vibe. So
Yeah.
innately in music, I want to make happy music
Yeah.
that is very exciting. But when people are listening to it, whether they understand fifth dimension or not, they'll be downloading motivation.
Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah.
thesis for the music that
Yeah.
I'm making now. So there's
Yeah.
more intent in it now,
Yeah.
rather than just being free flow. I want
Yeah.
my words to have purpose.
Yeah. That's nice. I love that. Yeah. It's not like the Greek music. Most of it it's not sad, but it's like like I don't know if you listen to Greek music, but
I love Greek music.
most of it I love it also, but most of
It's
it is because
heartbreaking.
of yes, exactly. So
It's very heartbreaking. Yeah, and it's not it's beautiful music, but I don't know if it makes your heart grow, you know, or makes your spirit grow.
yeah, I mean there are certain singers I love to go with. Buzukia. I go
Yeah, of
and when
course.
they sing live, I go there and I sing with them because they express certain feelings what I have. I
Of
love that.
course.
There are
Yes.
certain singers, but not all of them. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Greek music and it's so tragic, right? It sounds so tragic. But I love it and we have those days. So I'll still have some of those songs, but most of my songs will be happy. Like I have one song called Magic and the chorus is um I believe in you, you believe in me, I believe in magic. I don't want to go where you don't want to be. I believe in magic. And it's like just belief and encouragement and I'm talking to my younger self in it.
yeah,
So it is what it is. I'll send you that song after.
yeah, please. I would love to listen to it. Yeah.
And you'll hear that.
So
You'll hear the happiness in it.
yeah. No. No, I mean I've been following you since quite a time, and I always listen to your music. And I also see you how you're on the treadmill, so I follow you. I see you.
Yes,
So if
thank you.
you're not going on the treadmill, I would send you a message. Hey,
Yeah,
where's
yeah.
the
What
treadmill?
happened? What happened? Like yesterday, I didn't go on the treadmill or the day before, because I went for a walk
Yeah,
and I didn't film the walk, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I need to film that.
yeah, why not? Yeah,
Yeah, why? You're right. You're right.
yeah. So
Consistency.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I really love this conversation. I really felt very connected, and I was like a bit skeptical because I wasn't sure if like if we get a flow, while like talking with each other. But it went very well, and I really appreciate that you took your time. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's also a new beginning because like I would love to have more interviews like this podcast, and in order to also express what I have, and also the other ones who want to express their side of their
Of
point of
course.
view. And
Well, it's
yeah, no, I'm really
an absolute pleasure to do it. Because when you messaged me, like I didn't really even know who you were. I just thought, you were a nice person who liked some of my stuff. I had no idea. And he said, "Oh, you want to start a podcast?" I'm like, "Okay." Uh, and he said, "Okay, this Saturday, are you available?" I'm like, "You
and I love
what?
the spontaneous side. That's also good.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I'm available. What else do I have going on? Let's do it, man. Let's do it."
Yeah.
And that's
So
what I
we
like.
should that
You put me out of my comfort zone.
yeah.
We had a nice
No,
conversation. I never worry about flow in a conversation because, like you, I love having conversations. This is what I do in life. Like I go to coffee shops, I talk to people. Maybe it's that Greek
yeah,
blood. I don't know, but I love to talk to
mm,
people with a nice
yeah,
espresso.
me too. Yeah. that's that's what I also love, hanging around, especially with elder people. Like when I'm in Greece, I always talk to the elder because they have a lot to say. They have a lot of stories. So I
Yeah,
love to hear from them.
I love that too. That's when I was in my manufacturing business. Every morning before the office around 7:30, I would go to this coffee shop and it would be only people 50 years and older,
Yeah.
50 to 70, and I would spend an hour with them every morning.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was so nice. You hear all these crazy stories and they speak from they don't have a lot of fear when they talk because they've lived a little bit and they say what they want, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a
Okay.
lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm. definitely we have to continue this conversation, and I'm really thankful that you took your time, and I don't want to keep you laying off. Like, I'm sure you have other things to do, but I'm grateful, and I hope we stay in touch. You know, whatever whenever you have time, let me know. We can organize another call, and yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, I look forward to it.
Mm.
We're definitely going to stay in touch. You are a time traveler, sir. So
Yes.
keep doing the great work. I can't wait to follow you on TikTok and see what's going